Lego Star Wars canceled this set. Well, not the exact set in this bag, but in the 2014 Lego Star Wars Visual Dictionary, we can see a prototype Lego Star Wars UT-AT build. It's something I thought Lego Star Wars would never even consider making, especially given that in the video game, they wouldn't even show Lego Galactic Marines. Republic Bricks sponsored this video and sent me his custom Lego Star Wars UT-AT. And this one was designed by an excellent builder, Dave's Customs, so I have high expectations for this one. On his website, it says this set includes 1,475 pieces, and there are 3 purchasing options. If you just want the build with no minifigs, you can get it for $240. If you want an additional 6 Galactic Marines along with Commander Bacara, you'll up that price to $300, or you can replace that Commander Bacara with 2 more Galactic Marines for that same $300 price. So certainly if LEGO were to release a set like this, it would cost between $150 and $170, but in the world of custom sets, this seems like it might just be a fair value, and we'll find out in today's video. Packed away in the large bag is our QR code, which will allow us to build the model using digital building instructions, which are pretty close to official LEGO instructions, but as I've noted in pretty much every Republic Bricks custom set review, there seems to always be at least one kink throughout the building process that just makes you think for a moment. I just do not expect LEGO quality near flawless building instructions from custom companies. The first thing I noticed taking all the parts out is that it's semi-color organized, which will shave a little time off your build. The second thing I noticed is the very scratched windscreens. And having something super scratched up like this really does suck, but on Bricklink, this part in new condition is hardly available. It's one of those things when you don't control your own production that you're kind of at the mercy of the secondary market. And in this particular case, for this particular piece, as much as I hate scratched windshields on custom sets and have given Republic Bricks crap for it in the past, I feel like this is one of the few cases where it's kind of okay because there's no way for him to get a high quantity of this part in new condition to sell in kits. When it comes to the optional extra minifigures for the UT-AT, I've got to say, $60 for 8 custom clone troopers is pretty dang good. About as good as you can do in the customs LEGO UV printed market, but I still don't think it's worth it in this particular case because I don't like the way these look. Maybe you do, and then therefore it would be worth it, I suppose, but I think that these Galactic Marines just don't look that great. I mean, they make use of Clone Army Customs helmets, which are very good, but the mixture of white and dark red just isn't quite right to me. Plus, his pauldron on top is not laying down properly on any of these. It just looks straight up awkward. I suppose that looks a little bit better, but still, unless you're desperate for Galactic Marines, I would say look elsewhere. So with the UT-AT, I have to start it out next to the ATT because I think if you were seriously considering buying a custom UT-AT, you probably already own the official LEGO ATT, or even if you're not considering buying this, it's just something you would want to see it compared next to. So as you can see, it's a pretty beefy model, much larger than it probably looks when you actually put it next to the LEGO set. It does make the LEGO ATT look kind of small in comparison, but even though it is a little bit larger, they do pair nicely together, of course, because of their generally matching color schemes. The only real difference with the UT-AT is a little bit more yellow and brown versus really the just gray and red of the ATT. Looking into this custom UT-AT, it stays pretty true to the LEGO style of clone vehicles like this, as we showed the ATT just prior. It's very similar, and so this is kind of the same idea as what LEGO would basically go for. If anything, this is definitely more tiled off than an official LEGO set would be, but it's still like pretty close to what an official LEGO set would look like, I feel like. Remember that scratched windshield piece? Well, this is where it is, and you can really barely tell it's scratched once it's actually on the model. I guess unless you're looking at it in some crazy reflective light that's going to show you the scratches perfectly, you're really not going to see them, so that's at least a good thing about a bad thing. So the top windshield piece is here, and the bottom one is actually almost completely hidden underneath, so at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world, and I don't think it's a deal breaker for me on a model like this. Again, there's not really another option for mass producing something like this when the part just frankly isn't available, and thankfully it is a pretty hidden feature on the set. Like, there's a lot of bricks covering it up, so you really just can hardly see it, if at all. But this cockpit area does open up pretty easily. All you have to do is pull down on the front here. It's almost too easily because this is like pretty loose here, so it can just pop on down, and then we have access to where your minifigure can go. But if you can't see it, there's a printed control panel there, which is a nice part usage, and then we can fit the Galactic Marine in if we'd like, and it will close up just fine with him in there, just like it would without him. So nice feature for the cockpit, works as you would expect. Surrounding the cockpit are some large panels and some yellow lights that add a nice splash of color to the gray and red color scheme. And then underneath that cockpit is a pretty empty space. There's not a whole lot going on underneath there. It's just hollow, which is kind of cool looking, very interesting, and it allows you to get a view to the feet of the UT-AT, which are also a very different design than a lot of other feet in Star Wars. So there's 8 contact points on each side, giving you 16 total. It doesn't seem like a very efficient way to move a thing like this, but you know, that's the sci-fi Star Wars design. They do fall off a little bit easily. I'm pretty sure every time I have picked up this model, one of the feet has fallen off, so that's definitely a small issue with this set. But again, as someone who's going to put it on a shelf and probably not touch it for a year, I don't really care, but it is a problem, but I don't care. So I think generally there's not too bad of a gap problem on this set. You can see most things are pretty seamless. And then we have these big cannons on the UT-AT that look really good. You know, it doesn't look really good though, this giant panel gap that I noticed, but it's actually okay because I built the set wrong and I noticed that there was only a giant gap on one side. And so I went and fixed it, and this is what it looks like now. The gaps on this entire set are hardly noticeable, if at all. Very, very nice paneling design, but back to the cannon stuff. This one on top is supposed to swivel. It's a little bit of a weaker design though that I feel like can break pretty easily. As you can see with those studs there, you can attach the Galactic Marine inside like so, push him down and he'll be attached. So he actually looks pretty good in there. I think it's a pretty good look, and of course he color matches kind of the rest of the ship, so it's not that distracting. There are definitely times I'll put him in there and the whole thing will break, but on the whole it's still a good feature to have there. Looking further back, we'll see what is essentially a dark gray spine with lots of detail on the back of the UT-AT, plus 4 swiveling cannons on the top side of the UT-AT, which can all spin 360 degrees, and you can move them up and down and do their thing. I believe this piece was supposed to be dark red at the front here, and in some versions that he'll sell, it'll all just be cheese slopes, but I have the light gray version because the dark red I guess is too expensive. I'm not sure. Now this is a very unwieldy set, and thankfully it does incorporate a handle. So right here you just have the handle that you can lift the set up with. It's a little bit front heavy still, but yeah, it's a perfectly fine handle and does what it's supposed to do to let you pick up the model and move it without breaking off those feet like I was mentioning. So the handle is at least there. Now you want to see something dumb, because I'm going to show you something kind of dumb. The UT-AT does have an interior, and to get in you have to take these top panels off, but the handle gets in the way, so you literally can't take the panels off the top. You actually have to rip these apart, which is fine, and it's easy to put back, but it's not what I was expecting when I was building this set and finish it. And I was like, how do I get inside of this now? Because it's not as straightforward as you would think. And the interior on this thing is super spacious with a few distinct sections with seating in the front, seating in the middle, and then at the back here you have a weapons rack with a bunch of clips that you can attach weapons to. So that's really nice. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty dope interior. It's got plenty of space to fill out with troopers. Again, not something that I would personally do, and I always feel like something that Republic Bricks should do is offer a model without all of these bells and whistles that people like me that would want to display it on a shelf would want, you know? But I know a lot of people are really into interiors on ships like this, and I think this one is very good for troop carrying. It definitely has a lot more seats than anything from LEGO Star Wars clone sets, except the AT-OT. I threw a few clones in to make sure we can still put that top panel on when we have minifigures in. There's also a couple of boxes in here that I almost forgot to show you, and one of the minifigs I threw at the very front. He's definitely going to fit. He's pretty far down there, but that is a tough spot to get a minifigure into, and let's see if we can even get him out. Yeah, he's easier to get out than he is to put in, but that's like a tough angle to like try and drop a minifigure into. It's not particularly fun to place figures up there, so I do kind of wish they had done something else with that front space. So I have 2 long rifles on this left side, and it turns out you cannot place the panel on all the way with long rifles in the back. If you use the shorter clone blasters, you're going to be fine, but as you can see, it seems to catch on that, and so it's not being pushed down all the way. So these longer clone blasters are a no-go. My last note about this is that I think the connection for these panels on the side is not strong enough. They're pretty heavy, very large panels that run the entire siding of the UT-AT, and they only have 5 connection points with no reinforcement. So 1, 2, 1 in the middle here, and then 4 and 5. It's not bad, but it's definitely not enough if you're going to be moving this model around a lot, because once they come loose, they can start to fall off, and the entire panel can fall off with relative ease because there's no like reinforcement inverted tile running underneath or anything. I just feel like that's something that's missing. Obviously, you can go in and add that yourself, but I always feel like I have to press these back down to make sure the whole thing doesn't fall off. And of course, we do have to work around that handle again to reattach our top panels. This thing is super dope. I've really enjoyed looking at it on my shelf over there where the ATT is for the past few weeks, and I must say, if it's something you're looking for display for $240 for a custom UTAT, you're not doing too bad. If you use code MandRApril, obviously during the month of April, you'll get 12% off, which will bring the price even lower than $240, closer to like $210. It's certainly not without flaws, but it really may be my new favorite Republic Bricks custom Lego Star Wars set to have on my display. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, and if, again, you want to buy one, the link is in the description below.